One of the most frustrating things that I see is that somebody is alone and they're like, I'm miserable because I'm single. I have no purpose until I have a spouse or until I have kids, external things. And you're probably going to work towards it. But when you actually get it, you're going to realize that you still have that little hole inside you and you don't
Hello,
feel
hello, and welcome to the Finding the Unicorn in You podcast. I'm Dr. Jaime G. Raygoza, a life coach, psychologist, and your host. Join me on a journey to inspire and transform ordinary lives into something special. Here, we celebrate the unicorns, those who choose not to follow the ordinary conventional path, but rather chase after their dreams and choose the path less taken, making them truly unique. Together, we'll explore powerful life coaching techniques and hear from special guests who embody the spirit of unicorns in their own way. What are we waiting for? Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, we have another unicorn roundup where we bring previous unicorns and we talk about specific topics. So today, we're going to be talking about embracing self-love. So today, I have three wonderful women with me. I will have them introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Thank you so much. My name is Ashley Abramson. My actual business name is The Unicorn Effect, but Big Miracle Energy is really the creation I'm in now. So I think that's how we connected originally. But I'm a solution-focused self-love mentor. I walk with individuals to figure out their true answers within and guide them back to their greatest guide, which is their highest self. And something that I have learned recently that I intellectualized, but recently it was like I experienced it, is that people don't actually change. It's your perception of them that actually changes. So that's my takeaway.
Hi, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Mayra Reyes and I am out here in Texas. I'm very happy to be part of this group and sharing more about the work that I've done in the clinical area in social work, but then also anything that I can contribute as far as my journey, being able to learn more about the love that I neglected for some time and how after 2 years, I can finally say that I'm back to discovering more about myself as a woman. And what I've learned recently, and this was about a month ago, that I do have the potential to dance, even though I have been questioned a lot as I was getting older. But it was very one of those things that, hey, let's dance. And I felt that free, like more free to be able to express myself, but also physically, not so much verbally, because that's what I've been doing for so many years. But now it's being able to feel more comfortable with my body and showing others that they're able to do the same. Thank you.
I'm Meera. I'm an Ishaya monk, and I became one, and I'm practicing ever since then in 2012. I have a couple of books out, Peaceful Pain and Surrender is Good for the Soul. And the reason I wrote those is I wanted tools to be able to help people because it became evident that so many people are suffering needlessly. For me, particularly with long-term chronic pain, because that was my own journey. And so, in my own experience, I've learned that in any given moment, you can experience peace or pain. And so that's what I want to let other people know, and also how to actually do that, put it into practice. And something new that has benefited me in my life is really just becoming more empowered to recognize that I can make my own choices. I'm free to actually say yes when I want to say yes and no when I want to say no, and just really be myself and not be influenced by anybody else making me feel like I have to do something. So yeah, that's been very liberating.
Thank you so much, all of you. I'm really excited. And for listeners, you all know me. I'm Dr. Jaime G. Raygoza. I'm a human and organizational psychologist and life coach. I like to bring joy back into life, bring work balance, and really show people that you can be productive human being, but not sacrifice your authentic self and still keep that care for you. Today, we're going to be talking about self-love and how to embrace it. I've been working with several clients recently, and they have been struggling with their identity and how that plays in with society, their work, their family. And I've been hearing this common phrase of taking care of me is selfish when I have so many other people that I need to take care of, especially when you're the main caretaker, you have like kids, you have families, or you're taking care of your parents. So I'll open it up to the floor, whoever wants to go. What are some things that come to mind when we hear these things?
For me, that's actually something that really tripped me up, actually, because being a mum, my children are grown up now, 20 and 23, but you end up putting everybody else first and there's just no room for yourself. And so, yeah, along the way, particularly since I've become an Ishaya, Yeah, I recognize you can't give from a dry well. Like, you absolutely have to look after yourself, nurture yourself. And that's actually the most unselfish thing you can do, because I find the more I look after myself, nurture myself, develop a resilience and a strength within myself, actually, the more I have to give. And it just naturally flows out into the world as well. So for me, if you want to give and you want to help other people, then the foundation is looking after yourself first. It's absolutely essential.
Ditto everything that Meera just said. It's a huge realization and understanding to fully step into that and to experience it. I think at first you still question it until you have those days where you feel that you have met your own inner needs. And then you realize like the amount of energy and just love and compassion that you have for people that you didn't have before. And the reason why that is because how we treat others is how we treat ourselves. So even though you feel like you are showing up for these other people, you truly aren't. And that's a really hard fact to just face that, hey, what you're actually doing is you're using that as a distraction. You are using your neediness and people pleasing as a distraction from what really needs to be addressed. There used to be this statement in the social work field or the helping field is that many of those individuals go into that profession because they actually need one themselves. They actually need a social worker. They actually need a counselor. They actually need a psychologist. But it's so much easier to project out onto someone else what is going on with them than instead of facing it yourself. So in all reality, you are, I would say, harming more than helping. I know on surface level, at the level of form, it looks like you're very helpful, but truly at the level of content, which is what matters, that's what projects out what you actually see in the end. You're not. You're harming yourself and you're harming the people you believe you are helping, because I'm a firm believer we're all one. So if you can't meet your needs, you really can't meet their needs.
I agree with that. The only thing that I've learned as a professional, because we're always there about helping and making sure everybody does their self-care, is that unconsciously, we are not looking at everything that we have to deal with. Personally, I just had a surgery 2 weeks ago, and it was where I was lacking my medical self-care. And I never thought about it because I'm like, hey, I've been taking care, I've been checking myself, everything's fine. But because of how you were like, we're tough, we can do this, we have to work, we have to keep on going with life. You just don't realize that there's a little portion, which is a big portion, but there's a little portion. You're like, oh, I just have pain. I'll be fine. But it gets to where you don't have an option. And I was in the hospital bed trying to make a deal with my doctor. I said, let me go. I'll be back. Let me go see my clients. I have 11 clients this weekend. And you can go, but I don't know if you're going to come back. So I had no choice but to let go, that I needed to focus on me. Now, being there in the hospital was really challenging to not having to be taking care of others, because it was just taking care of me. So it does come out to where you have to sometimes be forced, where the attention is to go to you, even if you think that you're okay. But it has a lot to do with what we've been used to, how we've been handling life and how we've been handling everybody around us. But that extra medical care that where that doctor said you can leave, but I don't know if you're going to come back. For me, it was like a big wake up call, because then I look at who's going to be affected if I don't come back, because he meant that it was deadly what I was going through. I'm like, wow. But I had to go to that point where I needed to just give up and say, this is the time for me. For 4 days, I needed to be away from life. But now that I'm out here and I'm like, wow, it really needed, like that intervention was needed. But I think some unconsciously, we don't want to accept, and we're in that denial phase until somebody has to tell us, like, you have to sit down. But it's a good challenge, though, because now I can see the benefits.
Your mind and your body work together, and you have to be mindful of the needs of both. Your physical health and your mental health are just as important, and one does not take over the other, because when one lowers, it affects the other one as well. When one boosts up, you also have to consider boosting the other one up. Even though your mental strength is strong, but you're like wearing your body down over and over again, eventually your body's going to give up and it's going to say, I'm going to shut down until you get that forced relaxation that you need. But you're not really relaxing, because then your mental health is, I feel guilty. I should be doing more. I'm just laying here. I'm doing nothing. And then your mental health starts declining. So then you're like in this catch-22 where you're never really getting out of it. What are some things we can incorporate to not get to that point where our body kind of works against us?
I am a firm believer that nothing happens at the level of the body, that everything happens at the level of the mind first, and that your body is a projection of the mind. The mind is not your brain, right? Your brain is a part of the body. But the mind is really, some people might call it soul or spirit or whatever that essence you are that is connected, that is one. To me, everything happens at that level before it shows up at the physical, before you stop taking care of yourself, before you start taking care of yourself. And for me, that's when I really started to understand what self-love was. It is not about going to the gym. It is not about eating healthy. Yeah, those are beautiful. It's the icing on the cake. But the problem is, if you don't have a cake under that damn icing, that icing is going to collapse. And trust me, when my divorce occurred, it did. I was doing all the cold showers and meditations and all this really surface level things until I realized oh my gosh, I didn't actually address what was projecting out all those behaviors in the first place. I tried to change things at the level of effect. And yeah, you can manipulate effect, but it will never change the cause. And eventually the effect will always show up again. The book called The Body Keeps the Score. The body does keep the score. But if you no longer want a score, is when you realize that you are not a body, my friend. You do not have a body. Your body is a projection. It is an illusion. So that's why when we do say breath work and different neurological body type things, first of all, it happened at the level of the mind first. But if you're not really focusing on the higher level, your body's going to create a new score because that's what the body's created for. The body's created for you to experience separation, sacrifice, and trauma. So until you realize you don't have a body, you're going to fix something and then something else going to pop up. You're going to fix something and something else is going to pop up. So that's really my response to the mind-body connection.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And for me, and people are even talking about it in this way now, like the mind body, it's one thing. There is no separation. The body just follows whatever is happening within the mind, whatever our emotional state is, and which is again governed for me by the mind. And so within my practice and the world I live in, it's really the difference between presence and being present. Being present, there's still an outward focus, whereas presence is an awareness of awareness. And for me, with my own exploration and changing my relationship with pain, which I very rarely experience now, it's more like I just feel a tension in the body or the sensations of the body, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's no rejection of it. It's just an experience which doesn't bother me or impact my experience. And so as I've cultivated presence, it's like there's absolutely no pressure on the body, which gives it the absolute space and rest it needs to function most effectively. If healing needs to take place, and there's the space to do that. But also, it's like a preventative measure. For me, it's two different operating modes. We're either thinking, and that causes friction and pressure in the body, or we're present right now. And then we are free to operate without having the handbrake partially applied. It's really, there's so much friction and pressure that comes from thinking. There's a distortion that happens. And for me, thinking is synonymous with resistance or repression. So yeah, it's like releasing that handbrake, showing up fully in this moment, and then the body thanks you, like it operates then really smoothly and easily. And yeah, you just experience good health. And if you have some challenge, like I just had a throat and a chest infection and I completely lost my voice. And yet there was no suffering through all of that. And it healed really fast. Like I went from feeling like I was swallowing razor blades to, within less than 5 minutes, that pain actually went. And it's almost like I sped through the stages of the illness. Like I still noticed all the different stages that you go through, but it was just like, that one's done, that one. And it's just like the body, yeah, it knows how to heal. We don't have to get involved with that.
I think that it has a lot to do with retraining ourselves, what we were raised, how we were raised, how we were brought up. In the area that I'm in, it's a lot about, yeah, you get sick, you go to the doctor. But whenever you feel sad, you don't talk about it because you need to put up this guard. Like you have to be with this image that everything's going to be okay. So that's where we start, by giving ourselves that opportunity to be able to say, there is this connection, but if I'm not taking care, like we said earlier, right, we're not taking care of one, the other one's going to be a little bit unbalanced. But it's just about giving yourselves that opportunity to start and know how it is to feel different. Now, in many situations, and sometimes it's more acceptable that you start taking care of maybe your weight, or you start taking care of something physically, but mentally, not everybody knows what we're going through in our minds. So it's where this whole push about, should I make a change or not? Should I be more extroverted now that I feel more comfortable with my body? Or should I be more quiet now because of how people are looking at me, of how I'm acting? So I think it has a lot to do with just giving yourself that opportunity to be a new person, regardless of how you were raised or where you're coming from, and just challenge yourself. And like I tell my clients, take it a day at a time, an hour at a time, a minute at a time, just allowing yourself to rediscover who you are based on what phase of life you're in and where do you want your next phase to go. But it's a lot about just giving yourself that opportunity to be open to the idea that you can change one or the other and work with both to balance it out until you feel comfortable with yourself.
I completely agree. And I like what everybody has said so far. And I do want to take what Ashley said and I want to expand a little bit, where she said that everybody seems to think of self-care and self-love as different things. So in order for us to understand it, we need to define it. What is self-love? For a lot of us, we're trained through social media, through just advertisements and things that we're taught when we're young, that self-love is that physical, superficial thing where you take yourself to do your nails, do your hair, go get the medi-pedis, whatever it may be, or just take a relaxing bath. But you're not, you're, like you said, you're relaxing the effects, but not the actual cause. We are not actually fixing or alleviating the pressure that we have in here. And that can be very detrimental long term, because you can put the best analogy I can say is there's a wall with a huge crack on it and you're putting a Band-Aid instead of actually wanting to cement it and fix the issue, when then things are going to still leak out because you're not really fixing it. You're just putting a Band-Aid. So you need to really go in deeper. And what Mayra said is, you really need to you need to believe it. If you're not fully going to commit and fully want to change yourself, it's not going to be substantial and it's not going to last. If you're doing it because people are telling you that you need it and you're like, fine, I just want to shut them up and I'm just going to do the self-care, then it's not going to be something that actually stays, because it's not something that comes from within. How do y'all define self-love when it comes to like taking care of yourself, and what's the definition that you have?
For me, I think love is very misunderstood. It's often been this thing that you give and receive. But for me, love is the space in between the words that we speak, underlying the sound. It's the silence that underlies the sound. It's this inner state of just pure awareness. That is unconditional love. And we actually all are that. We're all looking for what we already are. So for me, self-love is actually really recognizing that, actually coming back into the direct experience of just simply being able to be. And a lot of that is just simple recognition. We've learned so many false understandings about love, so many concepts about everything in life. And for me, everything that I'm exploring in my own experience and helping others to is actually to recognize that the concepts, every thought we have about ourselves, it's just an idea. If you look in the dictionary to see what the ego is, just the idea or opinion that we have about ourselves. It's not this real, tangible thing. And so for me, self-love is actually just starting to recognize who and what you really are, beyond the thoughts in your mind, beyond the emotions, beyond the body sensations, so that you actually have that direct experience again. And then you don't need love because you already are resting in the direct experience of that. So sometimes we talk about the source of love is within us, but even then it's still an idea of separation between you and love, that there's something that has to happen before you experience it. But actually it's really just stopping all the doing. We're really good at being a doer, aren't we? Stopping the doing and just coming back into the recognition of self. And then that's the unconditional love that we're seeking on the outside.
For me, self-love, and this has been more personally what I've discovered, is about accepting your weaknesses and your strengths, and those that are not too comfortable for you, it's working through them to get to the point where you fully love it. Because we're always going to have those weaknesses, we're going to have those strengths, but If we're always just focusing on what am I not doing right, then we forget about why this makes me as a person. And having that rediscovering more about who you are helps you to be able to move forward, because the more happier you are with yourself, the happier you can be with others. And always giving yourself that patience, because we're not always going to be like everybody in society, and that's okay. But sometimes we feel pressured by society that we feel we need to be like them or we need to be a certain way. But it's just giving yourselves that patience and accepting yourself for who you are, but also the same love that we give to others, just giving it to yourself, like pointed at you. Even though I want to give my children all this love, I want to give my family a love, my clients, everybody, but it's more about just turning it more to you and accepting yourself for who you are, but evolving as you continue getting older to accept the changes that the new stage is giving you so that you can feel more comfortable as you're going through the different phases of life.
So I'll pretty much ditto what Meera said, that it's really about remembering. It's about remembering what truth is, and what truth is that this is all unconditional love, everything. And how Meera says is, I don't think our language can fully describe it. So sometimes saying words still separate it. But the truth is, it's everything. This phone is unconditional love. My gum is, I am, because it's all a projection of that awareness. It's getting back there. And I think, what I've learned even in the 7 years of my journey being super quick, it's been a lifetimes, but in the past 7 years, I've gone down the rabbit hole, and I've gone from church to new age movement, and still not knowing what truth is, and then finding my way here. So I would say that it is about being able to just be that present awareness that you are, but there is a lot of stages to get there for some, because there's so much noise in the way of what we have learned. And Meera had said, like, we've learned so many different explanations, especially love. I think that's one of the biggest traps. And I'm here to say the five love languages is ego love. It is the love of separation. It is the love of conditions, right? Because one of the love languages is gifts. So that means I can only receive your love if you give me a gift. It's separation. That's not true unconditional love. That's the love we're taught here, and the love that I think keeps us stuck, because that's what we're constantly seeking. We're constantly seeking this love, whether it's self-love or love of others, that does onto us, that changes us. But the problem is you already are, right? So when you're looking for something to change you, you can't, because you are that. And it's just really about the remembrance of being that. And like I said, there's a journey. So what I would say true self-love is going on whatever that journey is that you need to, in order to remember the truth, to remember you are love. And going and getting a pedicure or a manicure is doing. And really, if we break that out, doing is not love. This is a deep rabbit hole we could go down, but I appreciate you being so open to the rabbit hole.
Of course, and that's what I like to really dig into, these very deep concepts, because a lot of us don't take the time to do it ourselves. Sometimes we just take it for granted and we just live life without actually asking these important questions. So thank you for entertaining my ideas and wanting to go into it.
I just wanted to add to that, because you brought up a key point that I think is the essence of self-love: curiosity. Don't ever stop asking questions until you get to a place where you're like, crap, I can't even think of a question. Because that's what got me where I am today, is I question and annoyed the shit out of people until I came to this understanding within myself that was like, oh, okay, this is it. There's no more questions.
Yes, I love that completely. And you have to stay curious, and you need to, like you said, go on your journey where you understand that you are enough. You are exactly the way you're supposed to be. And if there's something about you that you don't like, then it's your choice to go on a different route and try different things, and being curious about that, and see if this journey is going to be the journey that you like. And there's nothing wrong with backpedaling and trying another path. The thing is that we sometimes, and I want to go into internal and external validation, we're taught at a young age that we have to get that external validation from authority, from our parents, from others, to show us what we like or what we should do in life. But I think what we're trying to get at is you need that internal validation where you're the boss of your life. You're the one that is in charge. You're the one that defines your happiness, defines your love. So you need to go on that journey. But it can be difficult because we're so used to wanting that external validation through gifts, that external validation through a partner. One of the most frustrating things that I see when I talk to people is that somebody is alone and they're like, I'm miserable because I'm single. Like, I have no purpose until I have a spouse or until I have kids. Or even worse, I'm not going to be happy until I have a house, that Lamborghini, like very materialistic things, external things. And you're probably going to work towards it. But when you actually get it, you're going to realize that you still have that little hole inside you and you don't feel complete because you were seeking for the wrong things. It's a whole process where you really need to balance and understand this. And some listeners may be like, he's crazy. I do need a partner. I guess I do need this. And that's where sometimes I get into disagreements and I'm trying to say, okay, you really need to do that self-reflection.
I like to say you've given away your happiness back. I'm a very visual person. So essentially what you're doing is you're seeking salvation outside of you. And I promise you will never find it because you can't. You are all of it, right? So the problem is you're denying the truth by seeking through external things that can never provide you what you're seeking because you've never lost it. You can't go find something you've never lost. You just have to remember it, if that makes sense. And it's like a whole confusing thing, but none of that will ever provide you what you are actually seeking, period. That what you are actually seeking is a deep level of awareness that just is. But we've been taught to seek it in all these external things because we're living a life of duality, a life of separation and judgment and all of that. So it's so much easier because it goes back to the beginning when you brought up helping others all the time, right? It's so much easier to say, oh, this glass of wine is going to provide me what I've been seeking, instead of, first of all, realizing you already have it within. And second of all, doing the work to remember it, right? Sitting in it, being in it, and quit avoiding and projecting out.
It has a lot to do with how we were raised or where we come from and what we thought that how life should be. But as we continue getting into learning experiences, I'm not going to say mistakes, but learning experiences, we get to realize that we have more potential than what we thought we had. I can tell you that in 15 years that I lived a very challenging relationship where I did rely a lot on the external factors. If I get this, then that means I'm loved. If I get that means I'm loved. But in reality, I was never loved. Now that I'm out here 2 years out and that I realize that there's a lot of love that I was missing within me that I never discovered because I was always waiting on that person to give me what I thought was love. And now being out here 2 years single and understanding, getting to rediscover who I am as a woman. Now I can say that I look at myself in the mirror and I see all this love that I never had seen. But it has a lot to giving yourself that opportunity and learning from our mistakes, but seeing it more as an experience because there's so many things that we gather throughout that experience. And we see a negative that, oh man, 10, 15 years that I was with this person. But no, see it as what did I gain from that? Because now it's really challenging to go out there into that world of, oh, okay, let's get to know other people because you already have your standards. And as a woman in this profession of being able to be your own boss or being able to go out there and fight for yourself, it's a little bit more challenging because now your standards are higher. But it's not about your standards being higher where you're like, oh, nobody's going to get to my level. But it's not bad. It's more about now I know what I want. Now I know who I am. Now I know that I can tell myself every morning that I love myself versus having to rely on somebody to tell me. If and many times it depends on their mood. It depends on if I'm wearing the right lipstick that they want, like all these other things that now it's not like that. Now it's all on me. And I know that at some point it may be a challenge where we have to contribute, where we have to maybe balance it out. Yes, maybe I'm not going to get everything that I've been wanting as far as the requirements. But as long as we have that respect that we're looking for ourselves, we get it from a partner, then that's where we can say, okay, this is balanced out. But it's not always about relying on external factors or external and an external person to be able to help us to fulfill that self-love that we may be lacking. But it's a lot about that rediscovery. Like, I honestly, self-love has a lot to do with just getting to know who you are, learning from your past, and be able to move forward and making that change to be able to just make your new journey and accept that new journey that now you're willing to work through.
I am loving this conversation. You ladies are amazing, and you, Jaime. It's just, and it is an inside out job, but it is a reminder that if you hang out, for those that haven't, you're not fully present now. And even if you know that experience, you may be not having the sustainable experience of it, is to hang out with like-minded people. I think that enables you to come and explore and discover yourself. If you do immerse and surround yourself with people who are just kind and giving and loving and curious as well, that they do want the similar things on a similar journey to yourself. And I think for me, I always used to feel massively alone, but I really only felt alone when I was with other people, which was really bizarre. And then I know other people often, if they haven't got that significant other, then they feel lonely. And it's just, there's this quote that I love, and I can't actually remember whether it's by Rumi or Rupi Kaur, I can't remember, but it's, if you feel alone, you are in desperate need of yourself. And I love that, because I think otherwise we just end up on this endless journey of trying to complete ourselves almost. And we're missing the fact that we're already complete within ourselves. And it really just comes back to, again, the recognition of that. And although the experience is always an internal one, it's just that recognition. At the level of consciousness, we're all one. There is no separation anyway. There's just the appearance of it. So for me, in exploring the lonely feeling has actually brought me to a space of just being, where there's no separation. So there's not even a chance to be lonely, to feel separate, because there's just nothing else. And then everybody in the world is that mirror that reflects back to you. So again, to hang out with like-minded people, particularly if you're at the beginning of a journey of trying to experience self-love and actually start putting yourself first. I know for me, that's what supported me along the way, was having those people around me that don't judge me, that actually just let me be myself, and not even just let me be myself, but actually encourage me. Yes, say what's in your heart, say what feels right, go for whatever you feel is right now. And that has been the thing that's just enabled me to just discover. It's like you just come back to yourself then in that, because it's so natural to just be, that when we stop doing all the things and letting go of all the concepts that we think we have to do or say or be, then we just discover ourselves here all along, which is really cool.
Yes, I completely love that. And I'm a big Discovery Channel nerd, so I'm always watching all those like little things. So I was listening to a historian basically talking about how back in the day, the only way we survived is through depending on a partner or a group or a village, because there was lack of resources. They needed the physical person for body heat, and it was very primal, right? So we couldn't survive alone. So instinctively, we have that ingrained in ourselves, that even now in today's age, where we have all the resources at our fingertips, we have all this knowledge, we have pretty much everything that we can to survive alone, we still have that instinctive, I cannot be happy alone because I need others to help me survive. So I think it's that internal reprogramming to really teach ourselves, one, you don't have to have someone or people around you in order to survive. Two, you don't need that partner to provide for you. You can provide for yourself because all the resources are amongst you. And three, if you choose to actually bring people into your life, then bring people that add value. Meera said, bring people that are on your same journey, that are going to push you up and make you prosper. And just really doing that recollection, are the people around me benefiting me or are they hurting me? And not being afraid to prune those thorns out of your rose.
I have a flip side to this. There's that life old statement of the 5 people you hang out with the most is who you will become. And I really agree with Meera on this journey of stepping into a place of non-judgment is one that it's so beautiful to learn through observing. To observe other people, not judge you, allows you to not judge yourself as much. But on the flip side, if you are finding yourself surrounded by people that you feel are harming you or not good for you, it's an opportunity to get curious. I'm not talking about if you're being physically abused, emotionally abused, but there's this huge movement today of women who get divorced. And I am a divorced woman, so I have every ability to have an opinion on this, that every husband was a narcissist. First of all, if you are familiar with the DSM at all, DSM 4 or 5, whatever series you look at, it takes a lot to have a full, like, diagnostic definition of narcissism. But it's a direct representation of people not willing to do their own internal work, look at themselves, and immediately projecting out this failure as someone else's fault. So I caution both my clients and my friends when they come to me for advice and they're like, oh, this friend did X, Y, and Z to me. I'm like, yeah, you're an adult. You can choose. You don't need to be around that. But this is also a very beautiful opportunity to get curious. What is it that they're doing that is prickling you so much? And I use the word prickle because the word trigger is very much used with diagnosed mental illness like PTSD. Prickle is something that I see happens to everyone. And what I see a prickle is when you look in the mirror, meaning someone else, and they do a behavior that either provokes extreme happiness or sadness or pain, just some sort of extreme emotion, what it's really doing is reflecting something within yourself. So if it's anger or pain, it's something within yourself you still have not released the weight from. So I caution people on that. Don't just keep running and finding these people that are super positive, because there's a reason why these people you're with, first of all, you're with them. And second of all, that they're prickling you so much is because it's an opportunity and you can take it or leave it. But if you just keep running to these positive people, you're missing the forgiveness opportunities that have been presented to you, and they'll show up in a different way.
Yes. And I want to add to that before I let anybody else speak. I just got really excited about that. You do have to be with people that challenge you. But I think there's that really strong definition of, is that person hurting me, domestically hurting me, emotionally, socially, like where they're creating a lot of damage that it's going to hurt your inner you? Or is it more so a small disagreement that maybe just a quick conversation that add that curiosity can fix and then help you evolve into a better, higher person? So you really have to make those evaluations. I think, especially today with TikTok and everything that's going on and how news spreads so fast, we've been so easy to add cancel culture to everything. And we're like, we all hate that person because that's what everybody's agreeing, that we're going to hate that person. And that person is narcissistic. That person is toxic. And oh, I hate that word toxic. I hate it so much just because people are not toxic. Relationships and behaviors can be toxic, but the actual person itself is not toxic. I was like, you have to be able to identify and separate that and not just label somebody something because it's the only word that you know. So really try to expand on that and really challenge those ideas.
I see her point about how sometimes we're like, oh, they're causing harm to me. They did all this to me. But this is an opportunity for us to be able to see our potential and the potential that we have. Like I said earlier, in 10 years, I never thought that I could be a business owner, that I could make my own business, that I could travel. And like how you were saying earlier, Dr. Jaime, about how you mentioned that sometimes we rely on others. So in order for us to be able to have a good income, we need another partner with us. This is where, yes, there is a lot of harm that people can do to us, but how much are we willing to take? Up to when are we willing to say that is it? And that's the experience that I lived through the past 2 years. It has been where now I can see that I do have the potential to travel on my own if I want to. I don't have to be relying on a partner to be able to do that. But my society conditioned me to believe that I needed a partner to do that. But it's really being able to get out of that mindset of the harm is always done to me, but now it's okay. So I don't feel comfortable in this situation because it is a little bit more abusive than what should be or how relationships are. But what can I do to be able to show myself that I don't even have to be in that situation anymore, that I'm able to seek support and be able to move forward? And that is where the support system idea comes in, with understanding the importance about reaching out for help, but at the same time, knowing that I'm not alone that I have all these resources in my community that can help me to be able to make that change and be able to move forward and understand that I'm, and again, going back to earlier about how we can change who we are and instilling that self-love that maybe we never thought we were not raised with, but now learning from what we are discovering about ourselves and be able to see that potential that we have. But yes, it's about just moving forward and not having to stay there, regardless of how old we are. That's what I always see. And with my coworkers, I'm one of the youngest that's in this profession here in the area. And sometimes they're like, yeah, but look at you, like you're younger and I'm in my this age, or I'm like way, way younger. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. It's really whatever stage you are, wherever you're at right now, what are your goals that you want to focus on? And be able to work through them. But it's again, using your support to be able to increase believing in yourself that you're able to move forward, regardless of where you're at that time.
Love that you said that, Mayra, actually, because it doesn't matter what age you are, really. I think we have the lessons that we have in life, and everything is just showing us who and what we are, really, again and again. And for me in my own life, I had to establish useful boundaries because the people around me who I still had relationships with. So it's, yes, you can leave, but you take your head with you. And really, we live in a thought created reality. It's like having a virtual reality headset on, and we see the world as we are. And so if we are holding on to anything, we see, we hear, we experience everything through that. And the filters of the mind, as long as we have any thoughts in the unconscious mind, then they govern the experience that we're having. And yeah, I had to establish some useful boundaries in my own life, but also employing just a very simple technique is just listening fully. Sometimes it's listening to what's not being said, because I think we latch on, don't we, to the words that people use sometimes. And we often, I know for me, I used to talk over people all the time. It's like somebody would say something, it would either be like I'd be exciting and I'd want to share, or they'd trigger something in me and I just feel defensive. And I'd be like, even if I wasn't speaking, this whole conversation was going on in my head. And I'm not then able to have that connection with other people because that conversation in my head, the thought stream was occupying so much of my attention that then the full connection with another person wasn't there. And so I find listening a really lovely thing. And yeah, I can give lots of different tips on that for people because I've suggested that before now. And then people have said, but they're aggravating me so much, I can't stay listening to them. And it's just, but then listen to other sounds that you can hear because that widens your awareness. Listening is a really good tool for taking your awareness wide. So then that whatever is being said doesn't occupy all your attention. So it's not so intense. And you stop feeling the sting of it to the same degree. So listening is a really useful tool. And it's such a win situation. I know when we're listening, if you listen 100% with 100% of your attention, then you just become present. And when you're present, you are that awareness. Nothing touches you. You're absolutely safe. And you don't need anything to feel happy, to feel fulfilled, because you're just living in that state of fulfillment and beingness and love.
I completely love everything that we've said, and I can probably talk about this for another couple hours, but we're running out of time. So my last question for y'all is, if you want the listeners to leave with one thing about self-love today, what would it be?
The ideas that you have about love, I think, is so important to actually wipe the slate clean, pretend you don't know what love is, and actually explore it brand new in this moment. And I think that's a cool thing to apply again and again, because the mind always knows, it always has an answer. It's set in stone, the thoughts that we hold in the unconscious mind. And it's really just like we've downloaded certain arbitrary information, really. And then that kind of has made up our personality. But actually, there's a pure essence within us. There's certain character traits that I thought I was like. I was shy, I was this, I was that, I was the other. And as I've really got to know who I am and resting in that experience, those personality traits have fallen away. Like they're not me. Actually, there's a me behind all of that. And so for everybody to let go of what you think about love and then explore brand new, fresh in this moment. Who am I? What is this still silent space that people talk about? Because that's pure awareness. The you that is looking out through your eyes right now, that is able to hear the words that are being spoken. The essence of who you are is love. And in order to have that experience, no matter what it looks like on the outside or the inside, just to stay curious and explore and never let go of that willingness to live in this moment brand new and fresh, because the mind is stale information. And if we're living life through the mind, then we're missing who we really are, and we're missing the fullness of experience that we can have.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, one of my favorite things to remember is that curiosity didn't kill the cat. Curiosity actually saved the cat, or like my mentor says, gave it 9 lives. So never stop getting curious. Always ask the questions. And how I end everything, because I really realize one statement that was so powerful in my journey that I don't think we hear enough. And that's, remember you're worth it. Remember you are worth it. If you are listening to this, please remember you are worth it. And don't stop asking questions.
I would say that to establish your own self-love journey and allow yourself to heal and work through your past, work through whatever it is that has given you an idea that self-love should be a certain way, and reach out for support for your loved ones, people, or make new relationships, form new partnerships, get to discover more about what your potential is, but always keep on moving forward and know that you're not alone. You are not the only person that has maybe doubts about who they are as a woman, as a male, whoever you are. But give yourself that opportunity to start that self-love journey and be able to move forward with it and accepting yourself just the way you are with your weaknesses and strengths. But make sure that you look forward to getting new goals and accomplishing them as best as you can.
As we're wrapping up, a quick reminder for all listeners, don't forget that if you go to the Unicorn Wall of Fame, you will actually be able to find all of these beautiful ladies there. So if you want to learn more about them, read about their bio, their individual episodes, or just recap this episode, you'll be able to see them there. Now, ladies, if somebody wants to work with you after listening to this podcast, how can they do so?
Send me an email, ashley@coachwithashley.net. Let's get into a conversation. Otherwise, if you're not fully ready yet, that's what my YouTube channel is for, to just start sparking that curiosity within you, because it's a video of me getting really curious. So yeah, send me an email, or Big Miracle Energy. If you just Google that, you'll find me somewhere.
I am a provider only in Texas, but you can always find me if you need any of my other services, because I do that after yoga as well. But I am on social media right now, very active as a laughing social worker. You're more than welcome to Google me or just put Mayra Reyes. But it's basically on Facebook and on Instagram as a laughing social worker. And reach out if there's anything I can do, even if I'm not in your state, but you need any type of support, I can always guide you. Or if you need anything of the self-care training that I provide, you're more than welcome to reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a website, boundless-meditation.co.uk, which kind of has links to everything. My book's on Amazon. I have a YouTube channel also called Boundless Meditation, where I actually got a whole load of new video shorts planned so that people can start to. I love video shorts because I've done a lot of longer webinars in the past, and I think it can just promote something when you say it very succinctly. And I also have a Facebook group, Peace or Pain, that people can interact and find out what I'm doing so that they can, explore to see what's possible. Because like for me, anything is possible. And if you want to go beyond suffering and actually find out who you are and have that as a direct living experience, then I'd be honored to help you.
And listeners, thank you so much for listening. Episodes come out every Friday at 7 a.m. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Thank you, ladies, so much. It's been an amazing and an honor to have you all back. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to the Finding the Unicorn in You podcast. I truly appreciate you listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and gained valuable insights. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review on your favorite platform. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. Until next time, this is Dr. Jaime G. Raygoza signing off.